Hello everyone, welcome to the bonus episode for 706.
It's 706, but it doesn't really matter.
Alright.
But it is.
The episode about George Shuttleworth.
Fantastic start, I'm loving it.
This is character
Quality
profile.
episode incoming here. George Shuttleworth. It is his time, isn't it? 5 years he's been in the programme. Over
Yes.
5 years. Can you believe it? I've got this list of characters that we still haven't done profiles of, and some of them, like George and Nina and some of the Baileys, I'm like, no, they're still new characters. But yeah.
No, it feels like he's new.
But the podcast has just been going a very long time. I will say, though, when I planned to do George as our character profile this week, I didn't realise that this very actual week was Nina's 6th anniversary, so maybe it would have been a little bit better. But never mind, we'll get to her at some point.
I don't think anyone remembered that, not even the writers.
I don't think nobody remembers Nina at the moment, do they? But
It'd be nice
George,
if she was in it.
it would be nice if Nina was in it. George has been in it quite a lot lately, so
I love George.
It feels like it is time. He kind of just end of phase 1 of George Shuttleworth feels like it's come to an end, and we're just entering a new era. So
Do you think so?
Yeah, I think so. And I think I found a newfound appreciation of George in the last couple of months as well. Not that I'm not saying I didn't enjoy him before, but I always, up until very recently, just thought, it's just not meeting. Yeah, that's not quite meeting his potential for me. But yeah, I absolutely find him brilliant now. In every scene he's in, I'm like, yes, bring on the George. So yeah, we're gonna just have a recap down memory lane of his good but not best, hopefully, years on the show. Talk a little bit about it, and well, you know what we normally do. How many character profiles have we done in the last 13 years?
We haven't done many recently.
No, I know. Well, it's slowing down, hasn't it? We just had to go. We have done almost all the characters there.
It's because they keep bringing out new ones.
Yes.
And then only doing like a year's worth of stories for them.
I know, it's terrible. There should be a new character every week just to make sure that we've always got somebody to talk about.
Use them properly.
Right, so let's have a quick rundown of George's vital statistics. And for a character that's only been in 5 years, we ain't got much about him. We don't know when his birthday is, don't know what his mum's name is. We do know, of course, that his dad is Archie Shuttleworth, Corrie legend Archie Shuttleworth, and he's got one sibling, Keith Appel, Glenda Shuttleworth. Love her. He's been in 434 episodes of Coronation Street since the 16th of September 2020, when he made his debut, and he is played by acting legend Tony Maudsley.
I love Tony Maudsley.
I probably could have come up with a better way of describing him then, but I was just kind of going off the cuff. Acting legend, icon of our screens, star of Benidorm, Tony Maudsley.
Yeah.
So his casting was first announced in April 2020, and if you cast your minds back to that particular month, people, the world was different back then. Things were busy. We were kind of worrying about the lack of Coronation Street. Well, the potential lack of Coronation Street.
Don't get us demonetised.
What? I'm not going to mention the C word. No, and not that C word either.
Or the P word.
What P word? Oh, yeah. Lockdown we're talking about. He was announced
in. Lockdown, probably.
and actually his debut was postponed a little bit because this was when, if you remember, they stopped filming for a bit, but then they just had enough episodes to keep them going. So
good for them.
Yeah, he ended up coming into the show in September, but I believe he was due a little bit sooner than that, which is one of the reasons I think why his casting was announced quite so far before he made his first appearance.
Is it really that? No, I guess rumours probably. I don't recall. I think the internet's changed quite a lot recently.
I think that when actors get cast, we don't usually find out, at least these days, until roughly when they start filming. I know that, with the Driscolls we had that recently, didn't we? But I don't know. Who can remember what life was like in 2020? So yeah, he as far as I can tell, and I didn't really research this too hard, I have to say.
Why would you?
Exactly. He was the one to announce the news on his social medias, where he reported, announced.
Pretty enough else to do.
He said, "I can indeed confirm this to be true. I'm chuffed to be staying at my ITV home and heading to Weatherfield, and I for one couldn't be happier. As a long-time fan of Corrie, I'm thrilled to be joining the cast of my favourite show. Here's to the next exciting chapter." So love it when a Corrie fan gets a position in the cast. And if you scroll back and look at his tweets before then, he was indeed a Corrie watcher and wasn't just saying it. So let's have a
better.
So he was best known as playing Kenneth Dubeck in Benidorm, wasn't he? But we hadn't seen Benidorm when this news was announced.
We hadn't.
We
haven't seen a lot of things, okay?
Yeah, we haven't.
And people are constantly surprised
that we haven't seen things.
No, we don't.
There's only so many hours in the day. We do have a podcast to do, you know.
Yeah.
Because there are lots of people, I remember watching, were saying they were watching George the first time and thinking, I can't not think of Kenneth. That's all I see when I see George on the screen. Whereas with us, when we watch Benidorm, it's I just can't not
George.
see George in a pair of hot pants. So we had a kind of...
There's a very different character.
Yes, definitely. He was a somewhat more flamboyant.
Yes, flamboyant's a great word.
In Benidorm, which, if you haven't seen it, it's a very good show. It's an ITV sitcom set in its namesake Benidorm, and he played it's a stylist, wasn't he? A hair clipper offerer. He was very camp, very outrageous, and I really, really did
very
enjoy it.
Very confident in his body.
He was. He was one of the best bits about Benidorm.
He really was excellent. Loved him.
And I think he's
Kenneth.
Is he called? Kenneth Dubeck. He started off in series 3, I think, and then stayed the course to the end. But,
Benidorm was so good.
Yeah, but you know what, Gemma? The first thing
on
TV that was in was Coronation Street, because he was. Yeah, he did. He played some background characters in the early 90s, just like drinkers in the Rovers, apparently. But his first proper I've got a speaking role on TV was in July 1995 in Coronation Street, where he played this goon that because Alec Gilroy wanted to find somebody to put the frighteners on Steve McDonald, who was threatening on marrying Vicky, Alec's granddaughter, and so he goes to see this nefarious businessman.
Have you seen this?
What?
Have you seen this clip?
Yeah, I watched it the other day. And Alex there feeling a bit, threatened and intimidated in this guy's office. And Tony's character is like the goon, the henchman standing behind Alec, just looking really big and imposing. And I think he had one line that he kind of bent down and whispered in Alec's ears. And it is. He did do quite a good job of being scary.
He is quite an imposing man.
Well, he is. He's quite tall, isn't he? Very, very
yeah.
tall. So he kind of leans down to Alec, and I don't know what he says. But anyway, do check out the clip if you want to see it. He's
like one of Corrie's gentle giants, I think.
He is now. Well, yes, George's.
Yeah.
I think so. And I think in some ways it's hard because Roy Hudd, in the role of Archie Shuttleworth, his TV dad, was one of the most beloved, grandfatherly, everybody wants him to offer them a word as original type characters that Coronation Street has ever had, hasn't it? You will not find anybody that has got a bad word to say about Archie Shuttleworth. So coming in to Coronation Street in this, it must have been.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Do you remember much about what we thought when we heard that Archie was getting getting a son on the show?
We probably could have listened to us talking about this. We probably could have
done. I think... Yeah, I think it was a bit of trepidation, but also a little bit of excitement.
I think we were a bit sceptical because we are quite sceptical people, aren't we?
What? No.
And so I think
they're cashing in on the Shuttleworth name.
It wasn't exactly a retcon, but there were bits that didn't really make sense.
Yes, it didn't. Well, although it was announced. Not announced. It had been revealed that Archie had a son before, so it wasn't completely out of the blue.
No, it wasn't.
He just didn't have a son.
It wasn't retconned.
No, it wasn't a retcon.
That's what I mean.
I can't remember what it was now, but because we were just watching through classic Corrie on ITV3, there was a moment when Archie mentions having a son. Although I do think, and I couldn't find this clip again when I was looking at the weekend, I do think he's like saying, he's got a bakery or a sweet shop or something like that, and he's got no interest in following in the family footsteps and running a funeral parlour. So he's obviously got a change of tune there. And also when Archie died, which was in 2018, I think, they go to the funeral, Audrey and whatever, and then they come back to the Rovers, and they do mention that Archie's son called Audrey over and said, you can have this £80,000, because which I'd forgotten about until I was watching this weekend.
Really, I remembered that.
No, I remember about the £80,000. It was the fact that...
Oh, no, I didn't remember that.
He had a son who gave Audrey the £80,000, because I always felt, watching the beginning of Archie's time on Coronation Street, that Corrie had just forgotten and they wanted to brush that 80 grand under the carpet, because why would Archie have left her that money had a son existed? But yeah, it was all there. He always canonically had a son, and he just didn't want to give him the money because he was giving him the business. And Glenda, what did she get? Nothing?
Nothing.
Not very much, no. But anyway, so we kind of digressing a little bit. I wanted to go back and say a little bit more about what Tony Maudsley had been in before Coronation Street, because he had quite a career. A lot of bit parts, one episode things. He'd done an episode of Queer as Folk. He'd done Doc Martin. He'd done Holby. He'd done The Bill. Reel them off. The classic slew of British TV shows that everybody goes through. He'd actually been in Emmerdale for 5 episodes as well, playing a defence lawyer. So I wonder what he was like in that. Was he camp defence lawyer or straight-laced defence lawyer?
I don't think they often get the defence lawyers to be camp. But
Do you reckon?
I'm going to propose they do.
Oh, you're lying.
No.
Anyway, he was also, of course, in Harry Potter. And I think lots of people don't realise that, because he was heavily CGI'd up, wasn't he?
We were all in Harry Potter, weren't we?
What?
Everyone in Britain had a part in Harry Potter.
Oh yeah, exactly. Or at least we dreamed of getting that end.
No, we all. So if you ask any of us, if you're from abroad, you come speak to anybody in a pub.
We know the Queen.
Ask them. Yeah, we all knew the Queen. We all know the Queen now, of course, because she gets around. But we were all in Harry Potter.
He played Grawp, which was Hagrid's brother, his giant brother in Order of the Phoenix. And he was very...
Typecast.
He was very... Yeah, typecast as a tall person. He really must do something about that.
I don't know, what can you do? Kneel down? I'm not sure.
I don't know, but anyway, yeah, he was heavily CGI'd up in that. But it was him. But he'd done all sorts. So he'd done TV, he'd done film, he'd done stage, he'd done panto, including the classic character in Liverpool Empire's production of Aladdin, the character of Kenneth. So, I don't know. He obviously didn't make the cut into the Disney version of that.
Well, no, because they like to get make their own versions of all of our classic fairy tales we have in this country, like Aladdin, one of our most famous fairy tales.
We invented them all, didn't we?
Yeah.
Anyway, he also did, I couldn't believe this, 250 performances of the Benidorm Live stage show.
That's a lot, isn't it?
That's an awful lot.
We didn't see any of them.
We didn't, because we weren't watching it back then. Oh well, I'm sure we will.
Maybe they should do it again.
Is it on DVD? I don't know. Anyway, so that's kind of your backstory to Tony Maudsley. It's a lovely chat. Have we met Tony before?
No.
I don't think we have we? He's not been around.
We've only heard good things about him, though.
We've heard many good things about Tony Maudsley, yes, and he has replied to a few of our tweets.
And he's nice on Twitter as well. He does post about like classic Corrie things as well.
I love it, and it's not fake, is it? He genuinely.
No, he seems like a really nice guy.
Yeah. Well, if you like Corrie, you're good in our books, as far as I can tell.
Hitler didn't watch Coronation Street.
No, he didn't.
I can guarantee that for a fact.
Yeah, and he wouldn't have done either, would he?
If
he'd only hung around for another 15 years.
He would have been an EastEnders fan, probably.
Anyway, let's run down our memories of this has turned into a funny old episode. Let's talk about George. What's he been up to on the street? What do we think about him as he's gone on? The first time that George stepped onto the street was in the Rovers, which isn't bad for your first scene, is it? He was there with Mary, who had an encounter with him earlier in the day. He had apparently, and I don't really get this, but he had apparently been very abrupt with her and rude when he had complained about some droopy flowers that had been delivered to the funeral parlour or whatever from Preston's Petals. And then so she was there in the pub with Emma. Remember Emma? Bring her back. Hasn't the visa in Australia run out yet? So Mary was complaining to him about her, and then he comes in.
She complained to Emma about
him. Sorry,
George.
about him. Yes, and then he comes into the pub to find her, takes his mask off, and then is just very lovely and apologetic and saying, "I'm very sorry for offending you."
Being a massive dick.
Yes. Stop.
And then he buys some flowers.
Yeah, some apology flowers. So that is kind of George all over. You're right when you called him a gentle giant. He's definitely one of these not a bad bone in his body kind of guys, isn't he? Which is like Archie. Do you think it would have been possible to live up to the legends that is Roy Hudd as Archie Shuttleworth? Has he? Do you think it was a wise move bringing in a character that's related to this beloved legacy icon?
I don't think you can't really compare them, because I think we've said this before not that long ago, But I think that Archie didn't have very many stories, and he felt like more of a guest star than a regular, even though he wasn't he?
He was a proper regular,
he
but yeah, he didn't live on the street. And
his biggest story was with Audrey and against
Richard
Hillman, and they, he was only a bit part to a side character of Richard's story, wasn't he?
I think that might be underplaying it just a little bit, but yeah, I agree.
No. That was his biggest story. I wasn't saying that was his only story. I'm saying his biggest story, he was just a side character in that story.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
He had his own stories because he had all that stuff with Blanche, but they weren't like soap mag covers, were they?
No, he had such warmth, didn't he? He was funny, but kind of gently funny. He had his catchphrase of measuring people up. You're 6'2", I'm not wrong. And I think when we found out that George was going to be introduced into the show, I was talking about are they going to try and give him a catchphrase as well?
Yeah, I think you were disappointed that they.
I mean, looking back on it, would that have? No. Should they have done? Would it have been annoying by now?
Yep.
Why?
Because it's just silly, isn't it? It's not good for a long-term character, and I think following in Roy Hudd's footsteps is a tall order. But I think that Tony Maudsley has proven himself to be more than capable of following in the legacy of this character. And I'm going to also say, and I've said this probably before plenty of times, but Eileen leaving is going to be the making of him, because even though I liked Eileen as a character, I think she was terrible for George because she just crushed him. And all the stories they had together were just quite cheerless, really, because of her attitude. A lot
of it did kind of, because we'd known Eileen for so much longer, the viewer was almost naturally on Eileen's side, and George, for many of his stories, was made out to be a bit of an idiot, a bit under the thumb, under the shoe, and they'd make him do and say stupid things and just come across as being very insensitive, I suppose, and that in a way really was complete polar opposites to Archie, who was incredibly insightful and sensitive and caring and empathetic, and George is some of those things, but you're right, putting him with Eileen, more often than not, he was the idiot character. Yeah. But
because she was sarcastic, and it wasn't within her nature to be romantic and sweet, whereas I think he is quite that way, and just seeing him with Christina, it just proves that he's just flourishing, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. So I was excited to have a new Shuttleworth on the street. I think sometimes you got to be careful because you can just kind of use a name to say, hey, look at us, we've got this new character, and hope that does all the work.
I don't think they do that very much.
No, I don't think they do. But, you had the likes of, Tommy Duckworth, for example, coming into the street, and it's like, yeah, you're not anywhere near living up to the legacy of the Duckworths here, are you? Or, I'm trying to remember who else.
They really rarely do it on Corrie. They don't really use names to get the foot in the door.
Martin Chevesky, remember him?
Oh, yeah. Wasn't fooled for a minute.
No, but, it's the sort of thing where you think, oh, could they, keep on the legacy of an iconic family, or not even family in the Shuttleworth's case, just yeah, you need to have the character to back it up, and I think that this was a big name casting. As I say, it didn't particularly mean that much to us when he was cast, because we hadn't watched Benidorm or anything else particularly with him in. But clearly they were making a statement when they cast this beloved comedic actor in the role, saying, yep, we know there's a Shuttleworth, don't worry, we've got it. Do you think? Mm-hmm. And he has. He really, really has. But so he pops in 2020, and the stories in that year, I mean, he's only in it for a few months. He meets Mary. She's got a bit of a crush on him. Eileen pops along. It's funny because the we said that the partnership of George and Eileen didn't ever, I feel, really, really work. Even when he calls her eyelash, in some way it was cute, but in other ways it was, I'm trying to be soft and gentle with you, but he never got any of that back. He didn't have a nickname from her, did he?
No.
But anyway, so that was that partnership. But then you also had George and Todd, which I feel is much more successful. And those two together in the funeral partner really is gold. And not long after his debut, it must have only been a month or two, was the debut of new Todd, Gareth Pearce. And so we had this story, and this wasn't the best comeback for Todd, was it, when he was on the run from the gangsters? But then they had to have George. The story was that George staged a mock funeral for Todd so that the people who came after him were thinking that he was dead, and then they would leave him alone. I was just thinking that. And Becky needs to get in on that. She could have
a second funeral.
I don't know how well that would go down, because she is supposed to be undercover at the moment, isn't she? And
she's supposed to be
just
dead.
Don't put about it in the paper. Anyway, so it works, basically, to cut a long story short. Before long, George is flirting with Eileen, and we get to see his first proper funeral at the end of 2020, which is sad. Ollie, who
yes,
sadly died at a very young age, not through COVID though. What did he have? It's a mitochondrial disease, is that right?
Yeah.
Yes, Gemma says. So it was very clear straight away that George's role was to be not a heartthrob, but somebody who would come into the street and find love. And that was kind of similar with Archie as well, because I don't think it took him long to get in there with Blanche, with Audrey. He was very much a lover, not a fighter kind of person. And even, in his first months on the show, Tony Maudsley spoke in the soap magazines and talked about a potential love triangle with him and Eileen and Mary, although he said that George is too nice to want to hurt someone on that front. I totally can't see George being the sort of person who would give two women the run around purposefully or have an affair, can you?
No.
But he said I can't speak this evening. He's obviously got an eye for the ladies, but they've obviously got an eye for him too. So I think there's going to be some romance. And that's kind of interesting. It made me think back of Jenny kind of partly fancying him. And we were saying, I don't really see what Jenny sees in George necessarily. He's not really her type. But, right from the beginning, he obviously... It's the height, isn't it? Yeah. Clearly, it's all the woman
having your
needs.
own business.
Yes, exactly.
Stable income. House. Tall.
What more can
funny.
you ask for? What more can you ask for? He said that George is a really nice, charming guy, twinkle in his eye, a little bit mischievous.
Yeah.
I don't know about mischievous.
I think he is a bit, but I don't think he's got much call for it.
Well, maybe we'll get to see a little bit more of that now he's there with Christina, who is definitely a mischievous lady.
Well, they wouldn't be together if he didn't appreciate cheeky.
Yeah, I think it's just, I don't want to just be this whole episode be ragging on Eileen, but it really does feel that she sucked the life and mischief out of him.
Yeah, I said that at the time. I'm not slagging Eileen off because we gave her a nice send-off.
I love Eileen. I really, really love Eileen. And I think something that a lot of people enjoyed about her character was her very kind of dry, sardonic sort of...
Yeah, but that kind of person doesn't work well in a relationship.
Well, her 25 years on the street was just a series of romantic disasters, wasn't it? Lurching from one guy to another and none of it ever really working. But yeah, anyway, 2021 rolls round and this was a weird... we said about, we've got a new Shuttleworth on the street, legacy character, integrating him in with somebody that the viewers already know about. But the first kind of story-ish that he was involved in 2021 was the revelation that he was, long-distant relative of Gail. Do you remember that? Yeah,
it was really odd, wasn't it? Mm. Well, she was going... Why was she going through old pictures and stuff, wasn't she?
Yeah.
Is it because... her dad was dying, or
no? I think that Ted dying came out of the blue a little bit, but maybe it was. Maybe she was looking over through some of this stuff.
Maybe she was just doing family histories.
Yeah, maybe.
And she said that they are distantly related, and Coronation Street had a brilliant time with calling this character they had as a common ancestor Fanny.
Yeah, and I think that didn't particularly sit well with me because it felt a little bit too much. Hey, look, this is a funny character. He's got a grandma called Fanny. Isn't that hilarious?
It is kind of funny.
Isn't it? Yeah, but it was just, peak goofy Gale, wasn't it? Unfortunately, and the fact that they are distantly related has had no impact whatsoever. It was just there for 2 episodes, 3 episodes or so, and they've not mentioned it since. So I don't really see the point of having done that.
Well, it was to make Eileen and Mary jealous, because Gail was getting closer to George, and I don't think either of them had made a move on him yet, really, had they? And Mary fancied him, and Eileen was obviously interested.
Yeah, well, Eileen tries to get her foot in the door by volunteering to drive the hearse for Ted's funeral, doesn't she?
Do you think you need a special licence to drive a hearse?
I don't think so.
I think you should have to. What do you think?
Well, just 'cause it's a bit longer and a bit heavier, maybe.
Yeah.
No, it's
fine. You need to be able to drive with a hat on.
She did look pretty dapper in that hat, but the story there was that she ran over a wreath or something, I think, when she was driving there, and
hilarious mishap.
She found it hilarious because it was her rival's father who'd copped it, but George didn't see the funny side of it and said, "Like, I don't want anything to do with it with you anymore." And he may be a bit of a mischievous chap, and I do kind of. I don't think that that's really the best way of describing him, but he is very sensitive when it comes to his clients, isn't he?
Yes, he cares about his clients and making sure, like, that's one of the sort of defining things about him, is that he cares about Shuttleworths as a business and keeping up the legacy of Archie, which I think is a really clever way of getting the audience to kind of like endear themselves to him, because we all loved Archie. And to have George come in and sort of say, I'm going to uphold, my father's values, it automatically gives you a reason to like him.
Yeah, it's just such a shame that they never had a chance to. They never met. Don't believe what the Photoshop pictures on the wall of the Undertakers will say. But yeah, I think it was round about the time that Tony was cast as Archie that Paul Roy had passed away. It was
a month difference.
Yeah, it was. That sounds about right. But it would have been lovely to have had a bit of a passing of the torch moment, and I still sometimes in the back of my head go, no, he's not really his son, he's just created, and just having one scene,
I bet they
of them
wanted
together.
To, but obviously Roy had died a month before they announced Tony Morsey will be in the show, but I assume there was absolutely no hope of them doing anything.
No,
because he may have been too ill.
Yeah, well, I mean, the last time that Archie had been in the show was for Blanche's death, 2010, maybe 2009, I can't remember. And so he came back for that, and we hadn't seen him sinse. But
he's died in the show,
great.
obviously.
It would. What?
He's died in the show, but when? I don't know.
When? It was in 2018, wasn't it? It was when Audrey got the money.
Okay.
Yeah, it was, yeah. We talked about that earlier.
Somebody did.
That's probably why they couldn't have shown it even. This just goes to show that we don't really put a whole lot of thought into
we put this together as we go.
Had Archie not died, it would have been nice to have had it. But maybe even if he was dead, I know that we were well into. No, we weren't. Yes, we were. We were into the Ian McLeod era then, so we could have had Ghost Archie.
They haven't had. They didn't start doing ghosts until Kate Brooks.
More of a Kate Brooks thing, wasn't it?
So Kate Brooks would have been like straight in there going, well, do we need him to be alive to do a ghost? Can we not just use old good clips?
Having a funeral taker, what's that? That's just a new word I made up. An undertaker appearing as a ghost. I don't know whether that had just been to Inception.
Yes, might have been.
They do at least have that lovely picture of Archie that's now appeared in the living room of number 11, haven't we?
Yeah.
Is it an oil painting, or is it supposed to be an oil painting, or a picture with a bit of a Photoshop effect on it? I can't remember. But anyway, I digress yet again. He opened up the branch of Shuttleworths on Victoria Street early in 2021. So that was obviously a plan right from the start, that they wanted to fill out this street that had been opened. But I think it had been around a couple of years by that point. I can't remember exactly when the Victoria Street extension first came into being, but there were a couple of semi-vacant lots, weren't there? Including this one where the funeral parlour is now.
It's an ex-community council thing.
Yeah, and they haven't done it much, but whenever they've said, we're going to use this place now, we're going to put a new business, and they're like, oh, what's it going to be like? So, but Shuttleworth's independent funeral services opened up in early 2021. We had seen the old branch of it back in 2003 and 2006 when Archie was there, but did you like the idea of them having a funeral parlour on Coronation Street? Did you like it? Do you like it now? Do you think has been a worthy addition?
It's weird because we've come up between us. We've done so many patron top fives or listener questions about what businesses would you want to open, and we've never said funeral parlour. And in many ways, lots of the other things we've said that could be possible seem to be a lot more suitable. Because it's very much like the Audrey salon, and I'm not being rude about the age of the clientele of either of these places, but it's extras, come in, or people are spoken about who you don't see on screen.
Yeah.
It's interesting because it's kind of limiting in a sense, because you can really only have those two characters of Todd and George in there, and then maybe if there's a story where somebody dies, they go in there. But nobody pops round, do they? Apart from Christina.
Yeah, not many characters have got cause to visit them there.
It's not like another, we can have people meet here, or people will have a chat. There are so many other things you could have as a shop. But on the other, and also there's always the criticism of people saying, it's unsavoury, it's unpleasant, it makes people sad, it's mocking death.
Yeah, I think that was a worry from quite a contingent of the Coronation Street viewership right from the start. A, having an undertaker as a regular character played by a comic actor, and B, having this funeral parlour there on the street, was it going to lead them to having a few too many insensitive moments? And I wouldn't say that they've completely avoided that. There's been more than a fair share of spilled ashes on the floor of that place, for example. And
I'm also thinking of the time when George came out with that weird embalming tool.
Oh gosh, yes, when they were embalming Julie earlier this year.
It was really gory.
It wasn't. It was just.
Your imagination takes you to places.
It does, but it was just. Yeah, it was just a little bit too. That's a bit insensitive, and we, as a nation, we like to make fun of everything basically, but I can imagine some people, especially if they just lost somebody, that coincided with some of those scenes on Coronation Street, thinking, no, sorry, this isn't funny. Even when Eileen ran over the wreath, I remember a lot of people online saying, don't like that.
I think people even wrote in
as well, to be honest,
about it a few times, because it is really hard if you're going through it. But there's other things that Coronation Street do as well that is hard to watch. I don't know, what's worse though? What's worse? Is it worse to make a silly joke, or is it worse to just be, let's have a year of somebody slowly dying?
Yeah, well, Coronation Street has always been about the humour and the gentle. Oh, you know what classic Corrie comedy is. I wouldn't call it black
humour though.
No, it's not.
And Coronation Street is kind of flirting a little bit with that, with this funeral parlour, but you can't really get rid of it while George is in the show.
No, and I think that as long as they keep George the sensitive side to him, the empathy, the kindness, the real respect for his clients and dignity, exactly. I think they're just skirting on the side of acceptable.
Not everyone's going to agree, but I think that's right. I think that he brings a gravitas to it. I think he liked that word in the show, but I think it's true that he has that.
And that there have been some really moving scenes in that set, haven't there? I mean, the one that stands out to me was after Natasha dies and Sam's there going to see her, little Sam, and then that's when he turns mute afterwards. And there's been a few moments like that. Even, when Christina goes to see Dom, and I know that does turn a little bit farcical when Jenny opens the coffin open, but it's given the opportunity for a few really heartfelt and tear-jerkery sort of moments that maybe they couldn't have done had they not had this set. Back in the day they'd have had them actually visit Chapel Arrest, but we all know what Corrie's like with their location shoots now. So I, looking back at the business for over the 5 years that it's been in the show now, I would say that it's done more good than bad having it there.
I'm not going to argue.
Yeah.
I think it's down to Tony Maudsley's really charismatic charm and his versatility as an actor too. I mean, anyone who's known him from Benidorm, who only knew him from Benidorm, will probably be really surprised at how well he plays this straight guy in Coronation Street. And I think that he's completely different, but also within the show of Coronation Street, he can be a silly guy who does silly things.
Well, I remember that was earlier this year he did the karaoke with Glenda, and that was great, letting his hair down.
But also then when he needs to, he's like a switch and he turns to being very sympathetic and fatherly. Yeah. So I think that it's he's a fantastically versatile actor, and I don't think that maybe he gets the credit for it.
No, because he's still been a bit of a bit of character.
A hard role to play, really hard role to play, and he's doing it. He feels like a real funeral director. He really does.
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe
if
Tony Maudsley finds that this acting thing doesn't work out, he could branch out.
The actual set itself as well for Shuttleworths, it's one of these ones you say, but the characters aren't going to have cause to meet there, so they don't. They often will go through periods of not showing it at all. Like I think last year it was barely on screen at all. Maybe it wasn't on screen at all. So it still feels now, 5 years on, a little bit special when we have a scene in there. And it is a really well presented set, isn't it? It's because it does look fancy. It's got this kind of antique kind of
Granny's parlour.
Yeah, with a big wooden desk and the urns on the shelf, and I really love that they've got a little drawing there of a Victorian era Shuttleworth with a horse and carriage outside of it, and all that. You barely see it on the show, but it's there, and it does add to the impression that this is a long-standing business.
I'm just waiting for it. This is what all funeral parlours really look like. I luckily have not been in so many that I'm bored of them. Always love to go to a funeral, but they're all kind of like this. But I would be really interested. You know how all these annoying tech bros always come and do disrupt the industry. Can you imagine them doing futuristic funeral parlour with
Well, maybe that's what the Rest Easy one is like. They're bitter rivals.
Everything's white and glossy and they have silver coffins that are like bullets. All these urns everywhere that are made out of platinum.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I think it's a really lovely set. We just visited. You didn't go to it, did you? I found it a couple of weeks ago when we were there. There was nobody in there, and I did accidentally knock over a photo. I apologise, but it's a lovely, lovely set. And apparently, Tony Maudsley said that he was also thrilled when he saw it. He said, "I could immediately imagine Ina Sharples, Minnie and Martha visiting somewhere like that. They've done it so well, and Barbara Knox even gave it her seal of approval too." So
I can imagine.
Babs thinks it's okay. It's okay with me.
I can imagine that Ina, Minnie and Martha all passed through the old Tile Street
at some time or another. Yeah, maybe it was a Archie Shuttleworth's dad that saw Martha off.
Or before. So
he hires Todd. We kind of mentioned that we skirted around that earlier, but this was new Todd's. Because what was he when he was when he was Bruno?
He was
Todd?
A florist.
He was, that's right. He was florist for a bit.
And
he was working for Pat Phelan for a bit of a dodgy.
The business something.
Oh, and he was a lawyer, wasn't he?
Yes, he wasn't a lawyer. No, he wasn't a lawyer. No. He worked in a lawyer's firm.
Right. Okay. So, but I think that this has been a fantastic pairing. But right from the start, Todd still didn't quite get it, and he was always looking for how to make a quick buck and upsell people, and George was like saying, no, we can't do that. This isn't what Shuttleworth is about. Don't want your hard selling tactics here, thank you very much. And he ended up sacking Todd, but then when one of Todd's old school friends turns up in the Undertakers one day with a dead baby, Todd's like proper cut up about it because of his own experiences in that domain, and George takes pity on him and lets him keep his job. That was really interesting, and I'm sure we knew about it at the time, but I'd since forgotten. Do you remember that scene where the old friend of Todd comes in?
Yeah, I do. I don't remember the scene.
No, but you know where it happened. So the guy that played Todd's old friend was actually in the show as that same character about 15 years earlier.
I had no idea.
I don't know whether we found out about it, but yeah, I'd totally forgotten. But yeah, he played I can't remember what his name is. But he was in it for like 5 episodes back in 2003, 2004 sort of time, and then they brought him back for these couple of scenes.
That is so funny.
So funny, yeah.
They brought him back for that, and they won't bring like Gail back for anything or.
Well, I think that Helen Worth is just enjoying life after Corrie at the moment, to be honest. So later on in that year, Sean and Eileen have a bit of a falling out. Was that around Sean's homelessness? I don't know. But anyway, George offers to help him make up with her on the condition that Sean helps him to woo his landlady. And Eileen is absolutely livid when she finds out what they're up to. And when she confronts him, he falls over, breaks his wrist, and then she ends up having to help him at the Undertakers as a result of that. And then the love blossoms between the coffins. Eventually, Eileen agrees to go out with him in August, but he ends up ditching her in favour of a fellow Undertaker colleague when he hears her saying that his job repulses her. Did she ever get over it? I guess so, but I don't remember particularly seeing many scenes of Eileen venturing through those doors.
It's a weird job, isn't it? It is a very weird job. There's some things that just make you a slightly different sort of person.
Yeah, think? I mean, neither of us have got jobs where we sit there and think, oh my gosh, I can't believe that they would do that. Well, I hope you don't think that about me anyway. But there must be loads of jobs where the spouses think, I can't picture them doing that, or that creeps me out or gives me the shivers.
I can't imagine you teaching, but there you go.
It's like, being married to a police officer maybe, and you think, what do they go through on a daily basis, or a paramedic?
There are jobs where you see things that other people don't see, that we don't want to see. And I think doctors, nurses, paramedics, police officers, those kind of people who see really terrible things.
Yeah.
They sets you apart a little bit.
It does, but you also, I suppose, if you're married to or going out with somebody in that kind of line of work, you still think, oh, my partner's a hero. But if you're going out with an undertaker and it's a very important job,
nobody was banging pans for undertakers.
No, they weren't.
And maybe we should have been.
And when George is getting a bit frisky with Eileen, she's thinking, I know where these hands have been.
No, look, it's a really hard job.
It is.
But I know that the people who do it are very caring, aren't they?
Yeah, of course. And so as is George. Yeah, but anyway.
It must be such a hard job, honestly.
I know. Basically, so Eileen...
And you probably have to wear gloves.
Probably do, don't you? Yeah. Mary's trying to get them back on speaking terms, but they leave it at this point, agreeing just to be friends. Then you get your next comedy Corrie storyline towards the end of this year, where Todd finds Pat Phelan's ashes in the funeral parlour. And whereas before I'd been thinking, oh, I don't mind if they have a few comedy stories about a funeral parlour. Just let's it's fine, make fun of it, it's okay. This, I was like, going a bit too far, making fun of my dear Pat Phelan, Corrie's best ever villain. Sorry, Richard Hillman. And they just made a bit of a farce of it, didn't they? And this is the second time that Ian McLeod had taken a beloved character of ours and disrespected their ashes.
This is actually a criminal offence.
Is it?
Yeah.
What?
To abuse a corpse.
Well, he found Pat Phelan's ashes in the Undertakers, and George had told Todd, oh well, nobody ever claimed them, so I don't know. Valerie clearly didn't want them, and then
who's Valerie? His wife.
Phelan's first wife, and when Eileen No, so when Todd falls over and spills them all over the place, I'm like, oh, don't do that to Pat. I know it was a wrong un, but come on, he's a great character. But anyway, he and George lie to Eileen that they lived, so that they belonged to an old lady who didn't have any friends or family, and that's why they were knocking around the funeral parlour for so long. And poor old Eileen's, who has got the stone heart at the best of times, she's like, oh, that's really sad. Let me give her a good send-off. And so she then takes Pat, this is her ex-husband, the serial killer's ashes, and she's going to give them a proper good goodbye. And George has to then confess whose they really are, but although it gets him into trouble for the short term, he does make up for it by taking the ashes and dropping them off in a dog poo bin. And then they start dating.
Hilarious.
I'm sad for Pat Phelan that that was his final resting place.
He wasn't
so bad.
I don't know why I get so funny about it, because they're not real people, but there's something really off about it, about doing that to ashes. And
I don't know whether it would be the same if we didn't mind really the character so much.
Yeah, I guess.
Because we loved Dennis Tanner.
Yeah.
He ended up through a car park. Pat Phelan, absolute iconic Corrie villain.
I think I feel the same about anybody, and maybe I'm just sentimental and weird.
I don't know, because I am thinking of that scene in the first series of Desperate Housewives when Susan and, was it Bree, go out in a lake? I can't remember. And they end up emptying some ashes and they just fly all over the place. They get caught in a breeze. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I think
that's
I found
not that's not them being disrespectful on purpose.
Who being disrespectful on purpose? The characters?
Yeah.
Or? No, but it wasn't Todd's fault that he fell over and spilled them, but I still thought it was a little bit much because of who they belonged to.
I'm not interested in talking about this anymore.
Okay, then, fine. So Tony was interviewed at the time about the beginnings of this relationship with Eileen, and he's called her a tough nut to crack. He said that I think George is half scared of her and half besotted with her. He also spoke about them getting married one day.
Is that how you feel about me?
Just a tad, yeah, I'm not going to lie. He said, I've got visions of us getting married, it all going horribly wrong, Eileen arriving at the church in a big white dress on the back of a hearse. If they do get married, and I hope it's not a quiet registry do, let's go big and put Sue in a huge meringue. Well, they never got the chance, did they?
Do you think he'd marry Christina?
I don't know. I mean, why didn't he marry Eileen? I can't remember whether he ever even proposed to her. I've got a feeling that he didn't.
No,
and was it like all along he was, because they were getting out for a decent amount of time, and he's clearly an old romancer.
Well, he is a traditional values kind of guy.
Yeah, he seems like the sort that would want to take anyone up the aisle, if you pardon the expression. And yeah, maybe just in the back of his head all this time he was thinking, is eternity with Eileen really what I want? But it was funny that Tony, this is back in 2021, he'd been in the show for the year, was very keen for them to get married. And that probably makes sense if you're a character that's just come into the show and saying, yes, get a ring on that finger,
I want
secure
my
place.
character to marry a big name, please.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, alas, it was never to be. So, also in that year, you got to have one of my favourite George scenes, and this was with him and Sam. And one recurring theme that we'll get through this is George is really, really good with the kids, and we didn't really get to see anything more other than these snippets of a scene in maybe one episode. It's after Sam goes mute after the death of his mum, and then George goes around the flat and they does a bit of stargazing with him. Do you remember? Mm-hmm. It was just absolutely lovely, and he's just got such a soft and gentle way about him. And Sam was still 10 back then, so he was super cute.
Sam.
And George was saying, "Oh, the universe is so amazing. I really want to visit the Arizona meteor crater one day." And Sam was just looking at this guy in awe about how in touch with him he was. It's just absolutely lovely, and I'm actually a little bit surprised that they've not done more with George and some of the young characters. They've had a few bits that we'll get to later, but he's really got a lovely way. I'd almost like, and who knows what's bloody happened with Sam this year. How many episodes has he been in? Is
3.
it double figures yet? But when he was hiding under the desks earlier this year, it would have been nice for, especially
if George had just been there as well, hiding as well.
I don't think they'd have both fit under there. But with George was going through this horrible loss this year at the same time as Sam was having this PTSD about what happened with Mick. And I can see it could have been a really lovely moment for them both to have reconnected and supported each other through difficult times.
Well, tough.
Maybe it's still going to happen, I don't know, but George seems to have got Christina to sort him out there, as far as I know. So the first of George's 2 Christmas screw-ups happened in 2021, and this ties straight into what we were saying about sometimes George was just made out to be a bit of a hopeless idiot, because he decides to gift Eileen a coffin and a funeral plan in 2021, which he is obviously fuming about. And it's just things like that where I thought, it's not quite hit the mark there. I don't believe that George would be so naive as to think that, even though this is very important to him, that his new girlfriend would like this. It felt like, hey, this is going to be funny at Christmas, but it doesn't fit with the fact that he is very sensitive, don't you think?
It's a shame that she didn't accept it and see if it was transferable.
Or she give it to Julie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, I hope that he didn't charge her for the funeral.
Anyway, he makes up for it with a coat and a meal out. So
Does she get to keep the funeral?
I don't remember what happened with it in the end. Like, has she taken it to Thailand?
I'd be like, oh man, this is so horrible and insensitive, but thanks.
I'll keep it for later.
Yeah, I will.
Right, 2022. Do you want to take over and go through that a little bit?
Tim wants to make funeral arrangements because he's going to have heart surgery, so he helps him with that. And then Eileen gets frustrated with George. He refuses to stay the night and she wants him to. And there's a bit of a mix-up because Sean overhears half of a conversation. George and Todd are talking about burying a bigamist, and then Eileen thinks that George is the one they're talking about. And then it all gets cleared up because Eileen and Sean do a bit of location snooping at his house. It turns out, actually, George has a terrible snoring problem, which Eileen does think can't be that bad. So she agrees to stay the night, but she can't cope with it. She has to stay awake with energy drinks because it's just so loud.
That was a great scene. I don't
so
know if
funny.
you remember that, but I found it out the other day because so rarely do you get to see a bedroom scene in Coronation Street. It's lounge, kitchen, that's your lot. So when they actually bother to install the bedroom scene, you think, this is going to be a good one. And it was only about 10 seconds long, but yeah, George is there blissfully snoring away, and Eileen's got her just lying there with her eyes open, and everybody's shouting for him to shut up. They have a cat outside and everything in the dark. Yeah, that was really fun. So what do you think about George's snoring being a key part of his personality? Do you like that little foible of his?
I think it was an interesting story because lots of people have this and it's easy to fix really, but it's having to put your ego aside to, admit you have this issue, and also having to sleep with a CPAP machine on sounds awful. But when people need it though, it does such a good job of helping you sleep that I don't think you mind. No.
I mean, I remember my parents ended up sleeping in separate beds for years because of my dad's terrible snoring.
Lots of people sleep in separate bedrooms because of snoring.
Are we going to get to that stage?
Well, you keep
because of your snoring.
Me of snoring.
You're always accusing me of snoring as well. Yeah, I think that this is a nice little character trait of his, and it was funny that it got brought up again. It was just like a month or so ago, wasn't it? Maybe not even that, when he's snoring away in the Undertakers and Christina can't hear what the woman's saying on the phone.
Yeah.
So I do quite like that that's now a thing of his. But yeah, not something that needs to be brought up too much.
No, he's got sleep apnea, so he gets the CPAP machine, and there you go, bad bish bash bosh.
And yeah, now we can move in with Eileen, and they don't have to share his house anymore. And they had like one episode where we visited his house, and I think Eileen and Sean are hiding in a shed or something.
That's what I was talking about.
Yeah, I don't think we'll need to see that again. It's one of these sets, not a set, it's one of these locations where you think, why don't they just sell it off screen and have done with it? Because then people will stop saying, why isn't anybody going there? Why isn't anybody
Why are these two
there?
people talking about being homeless when they actually have a house? Why is George renting a house from Eileen when he owns one?
Yeah.
And why is Glenda saying she's homeless?
Don't make no sense.
No.
I think the current narrative is that they're renting it out to someone, aren't they? Glenda is.
Well, then you've got the money to get your own place. So George gets PTSD. He's introduced to Frank, who is a new fella of Sean's, who turns out that he was a bully of his when he was at school. and it brings it all back to him. And Frank and his mates used to call him Georgie Porgy and whistle John Brown's Body.
Do you know that one?
No, what is it?
It's the one with the classic. Da, 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 da,
What's the song? What's the lyrics?
I don't know.
I only know Glory, Glory.
Yeah, that's part of it. So this was the song. I don't think many people know that that's John Brown's Body, and I certainly didn't before it came up on this.
Oh.
But this is what horrible Frank ended up singing to George.
That's not
to
very cool.
Remind him of his school day taunting.
That's not a very cool thing to.
Not very cool or not very cruel?
No, not very cool.
No, it was mean because he was a bully.
I know, but you use a Beatles song or something. John Brown's Body. John Brown's body lies a mouldering in the grave.
Yeah. There we go. Well, that's perfect for a funeral director's child, isn't it?
He captured Harper's Ferry with his 19 men so true. That's not that bad. What are you moaning about? So, Frank apologises and says he's changed, but then George hears him singing the tune again and realises he's still the same. George, what is a banging tune though, isn't it?
Yeah, it totally is, yeah.
Especially in Manchester.
Why?
Glory, glory, Man United.
Oh, yes, of course. That's probably what I was just singing.
Yeah, I think he's just making it all about himself, isn't he, the egomaniac?
He's got such victim syndrome as George.
I was actually watching a playthrough, because what my life is now. I'm too lazy to play games to just watch people doing it. Hollow played a game from the Philippines, I think it was, and it was this weird guy, he had a soup shop. But part of it, there was a gang of people, and they were all Man United fans, and they were singing this song.
Glory, glory, Man United. Well, there you go.
It was a bit strange.
I don't think I particularly enjoyed this song about George's bullying, although
The story.
I
love the song.
I don't know why particularly. I just sometimes got a bit of a thing about bullying stories on Coronation Street, and they all kind of feel similar, even though this one doesn't, because this was about childhood trauma, but. Yeah,
I'm not sure.
It was one of these last a few stories, and the message was, "Oh, well, don't bully people because they're still sad about it years later." It did get brought up a few times later on when George speaks to some other bullied characters, and I guess it does add a bit of element of sympathy for him as well. And I can picture him being the sort of kid who might have been bullied at school, back in the 70s, 80s, whenever it was. But yeah, I didn't really get on with the character of Frank. We weren't supposed to, but yeah, this story wasn't my favourite.
It was weird how invested he was in being a bully, like 20 years later, 30 years later.
Yeah.
Like, why would you still care?
I just found it odd that Sean would even go out with this Frank anyway, as being someone who was that much older than him.
It felt like a really odd storyline, I'm sorry to say.
Yeah.
George and Todd also, I can't really remember what it was exactly he was being... how bad the bullying was, but he was still affected by it for so long. It just seemed like it just seemed all made up, to be honest.
He was affected by it, it's not the sort of thing that he's going to mention all the time.
No, I know.
I suppose it's an extra string to his character bow that he can whip out every now and then.
Clearly, you will be affected by something that's incredibly horrific for the rest of your life, no matter what it, But what his account of what actually happened, compared to what happened to poor Liam.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I still, I was bullied for certain things when I was younger.
You still have hang-ups about them.
I really, really do. I totally do.
But do you remember the people, or do you just remember the way they made you feel and what was?
No, I don't know whether I do.
See, this is what I
mean.
mean.
I know that there were a few. The particular things that I don't particularly want to go into on air that I was bullied about.
That's why I didn't ask you.
No. I've got very vivid memories of it happening.
Yeah.
And I know that there were mean children at school, but which ones of those were being mean to me there particularly, I don't really remember. But maybe if I met them again, it would all kind of come back to me. I
think it's more realistic that you remember how you felt and what it was that they were teasing you about, and you have a hang up about that. I think it's more likely you'd be triggered by somebody saying something about, say your appearance or your personality that they didn't like. That seems like a more realistic bullying storyline.
I don't know.
Than having a man rock up who for some reason still remembers the exact song he used to sing to wind you up. Do you not think that He's got more of a problem than George did. If he's like so into being a middle school bully at the age of 50, he's the one with the problem.
Yeah, well,
it's not realistic. It's not. This doesn't really happen, does it?
He didn't last long on the show anyway, did he?
I mean, it probably happens a few times to some people. Obviously, everything happens to some people, but this just doesn't feel. It didn't feel like it was easy to connect to this story because it just felt like a very fictional account of what it was like to be bullied, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But yeah, so George and Todd tried to expose Frank and his temper to Eileen by accidentally spilling a drink on him, but he remains composed. And they also overhear a phone call that sounds a bit threatening, but he was just talking to his friend who's an actor.
Apparent. I mean, that's what he said.
But then Frank blots his copybook by shouting at Dylan to man up when he hurts himself at football. And Sean's like, that's enough.
Man up and get a knife.
Yeah.
People make fun of you.
Just
give them
knife
a bit
them.
of stabby.
First of all, sing at them. They hate it. Second of all, get a knife.
Yeah, so he got the whole hey heave ho when he was out of the show pretty quickly, wasn't he?
Anyway, that happened.
Yeah, that happened.
In August, Rest Easy is the rival firm, and I really would love to see more of Rest Easy.
I know, I would, because they had that story where Todd, we'll come to it later, got poached by them for a little bit, didn't we?
We did get to see them in action, didn't we, as well?
We did.
A little bit.
We did, but we didn't see their premises,
I
which is a shame, because I'd quite like to have seen almost now a comedy take on these ruthless cutthroat.
Yeah.
You know, where George has got his lovely soft leather for soft furnishings, would they just have? I don't know.
Well, did you ever watch?
Ship them in, ship them out.
Let's Flats.
Yeah.
You know the rival estate agents that's up the road, and they're all really cool.
Yes.
That's what Rest Easy in my head. They're like that. They're like a bunch of like annoying. I can't think of the word I can say that's polite. Like like really up themselves estate agents, except they're all.
Yeah.
Funeral directors.
Well, I like how that they've got a rivalry. It's these streetcars have had ones. I can't remember. What are they called? Go Lucky or something?
Yeah, that's right.
The rival to streetcars. Yeah, and we know
and
of
the flying
them.
horse.
We know. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, classic, often unseen rivals on the street just to get brought up in conversation.
And then, didn't we? And we had Fred Elliott and his.
Oh yeah, Maddox's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's really funny to have rivals, business rivals.
Yeah.
Well, I think.
And also, have you got Audrey and Claude?
Yeah, Audrey.
What is she called? Prime Cuts, is she? Or?
I don't know.
I can't remember what her business is called, but yeah, it's.
I think
but there isn't a character. I don't. Maddox and Claudia.
Yeah. They need
big names, and these guys that they've got representing Rest Easy are not memorable.
No, they should have got someone big.
Yeah, they should have done.
Who would we pick?
What, to play a rival Undertaker?
Yeah.
Well, I think that they should have what's his face who played Kenneth's mate in Benidorm. You know, there was the younger character that was always hanging around.
That would be really funny, actually, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I think that would be if he came in as, for a few episodes being the rival, I think that would go down really well, and it would be a bit of a fourth wall break, but I think people would enjoy it.
I think people would like
seeing
that.
those two appearing on screen. Or anyone from Benidorm apart from Sherry Hewson, of course.
That'd be strange.
Although maybe.
There's no evil clothing factory.
There isn't.
There should be. There's just
evil
evil buyers.
It's they've had king's robes in the
past.
But
they're just evil buyers, aren't they?
Yeah, I suppose so.
Yeah, they're not evil rival.
No.
Anyway.
No rival newsagents for the cabin, but that sadly says too much about the state of the local business, local newsagents, paper shops in 2025.
Well, evil rival firm Rest Easy, those bastards offered to buy them out for £400,000, but George won't do it because they're terrible people.
Well, I am a little bit sad, to be honest, that there isn't another little Shuttleworth in name who can take over the business as a Shuttleworth.
Todd's being groomed.
Yeah, but he's not going to be a Shuttleworth. I think that Todd, he does not need a new career now. He can stay in the undertaking game forever. So
you want him to marry Glenda?
And take her name.
Yeah.
I think that's the only way that we can do it, to be honest.
I think it'd be really cute if at some point George changes the name to Shuttleworth and Grimshaw.
Imagine
That sounds like a proper northern name, doesn't it?
It does. Well, just having an undertaker called Grimshaw, so it
Yeah.
sounds like very Dickensian,
It
doesn't it?
Yeah. Mr. Grimshaw will be round in a minute to measure you for your coffin.
Yeah.
Right, so George refuses.
Refuses what?
To the offer. Glenda shows up to help officiate a funeral because George is dosed up with tramadol and he's cracked a tooth. And is that why she wears a hat?
Yes,
this
is
her
Glenda's
arrival.
debut.
And this was fun because...
Another big name casting.
Yeah, I remember the picture that they put online about, he's got a new... And I think a bit like with Tony Maudsley, I was like, I should know who this is.
Yes, both of those two are huge names that to us were like, who?
And Jodie Prenger is like proper showbiz.
I know, she's done everything.
Yeah.
But we haven't seen it.
No, we did. We watched some of the things that she has been in the past. I think she was most famous though for I'll Do Anything, which was that musical.
Yeah.
Like I want to be.
Find me a stage.
What's it?
Annie?
What was it? Yeah. No.
It's terrible that we should know.
I don't remember, but she was great in that apparently. But she was in reality television.
Yeah, so when she was
made...
cast, I think it was a bit of a power play from ITV saying, hey, look, we've got this new character, legacy family, it's who you know and love, Jodie Prenger, and I think, I may even say, and I love them both, but I think I love Glenda even more.
Yeah, but this is what's frustrating, is that I do think if George hadn't been under Eileen's thumb, he would have been a bit freer to have cultivated a bit more of a lovable lifestyle.
Yeah.
I think Glenda's also just charming because she sings all the time, and George doesn't have that.
No, I think that they work together really well as brother and sister, and I really do.
I love them together.
Them
I really do.
siblings.
I do. It's funny.
But yeah, they're not. In some ways, they're similar, but in other ways, they're obviously really, really not, because he's a little bit more straight-laced,
Down to earth.
Yeah.
She's a dreamer.
But bringing her in was a fantastic move.
Yes,
and
I'm really glad.
Yeah. Just so that there's somebody else for him, and especially now that Eileen's not here, it's good that she's there for him to just go and have a. Sometimes he needs to be told to pull himself together and back his ideas up, and Glenda's great for that. And she sometimes is a bit too overbearing for him as well, which I think some boys out there would.
They couldn't handle her.
No. I'd say we could. What's the bloody word? We can relate to that as having a sister who can sometimes be a little bit too much.
Oh, really?
Well, maybe with a theatrical
flamboyant sisters.
I do have a flamboyant theatrical sister. It's true.
She's great. She's better than you.
Thanks.
I think we're cursing this character here a little bit, talking about Shuttleworths and the legacy of the family, and I just said that he should call it Grimshaw and Shuttleworth and Grimshaw.
Yeah.
I can just imagine the scene where he unveils the new sign and Todd's there going, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing. I thank you so much. I don't know what to say." And then suddenly this man appears at the end of the road and goes, "Dad?" And George goes, "Oh my God, it's my son that I've never mentioned." You know that
George is absolutely ripe for having a secret son.
Yep.
It'd be like people saying, no, it's a retcon, he's never got one. And I'd say, yeah, I totally agree with it. But we know so little about him, considering he's had 5 years on the show. And all we really know is his dad was Archie, he got bullied at school.
Yeah.
And then he was in Coronation Street.
No.
It's just a big black hole.
We do know that he was set up on a blind date to go to see Christina and he didn't go.
Oh, yes, I forgot that about him. You're right.
So he was obviously, he's been a ladies' man all his life.
Yeah, I know. But, I think that I wouldn't be adverse to that, because he must have had a bit of a life before coming to Coronation Street, mustn't he?
It's too tempting. It's like Becky coming back from the dead. They deliberately don't fill out the characters' backstories because they're giving themselves something to do in the future. But what a perfect way to introduce conflict between him and Todd.
I would quite like for him to call it, Shuttleworth and Son. And I think that had Eileen stayed in the show, and maybe even marries George,
That's where it
Todd
felt
would
like
have
it was
become
going.
a kind of surrogate son to...
Yeah.
He kind of is already, isn't he? We had the scenes earlier this year where George was telling Todd that he loved him.
Yeah, I know.
As a father kind of figure.
But you can't...
What?
Is it... Oh, could they... We don't... Who do we don't know who Jason's dad is, but we know Todd's.
No, we don't know Todd's. We know Jason's.
Oh God, imagine if it just turned out to be George.
No, that would be taking it too far.
I know, but this is Coronation Street, Michael. It doesn't make any sense anymore.
I honestly can't remember whether Eileen knows and just hasn't said anything.
Maybe he could call it Shuttleworth and Toddicles. Are you gonna? The disaster number 2 for Christmas that year, 2022, was George buying Eileen a sofa, which turned up and it was so small you could fit it in the palm of your hand, which I think is cute. I want to buy one.
It's one of those stories that I can kind of think that around the writers' table they're like, oh, this will be funny. This will counterbalance the usual
crap,
tragedy and drama and heartache that happens at Christmas on Coronation Street. But again, it just made me think, why would he do that? He's just making George look like a bit of an idiot there. But I think that he's probably learned his lesson after that, because I don't think there are any other Christmas Day disasters.
I don't think he ever bore anything ever again.
No, there's no point, is it? There's no point with some women just like...
Just leave it. Just let them buy their own present.
Yeah, exactly. That's been my modus operandi for quite a few years now, I'm going to say. Right, 2023. So George starts the year in Eileen's bad books, not just because of this Christmas doll's house sofa disaster from a few months before, but he lends Glenda £5,000 for her share in Little Big Shots, because that was what debuted in 2023, the old child talent prodigy agency thing that she got involved with, and he lends her the money for it, and Eileen thinks that it's a bit of a waste of time. Also,
it's been going the whole time.
I know, it's still going, isn't it? They never even take the posters down the community centre. It's clearly huge. Also this year, this is this silly side story for George. He got involved in model shipbuilding, and that was just done to serve the awful Brian and... What was the woman's name? Isabella?
Isabella.
Yeah, that bizarre story where Brian turned out to have had an obnoxious Italian long-lost... Cousin, I think it was, yeah. So George gets into shipbuilding, Brian gets into shipbuilding, Isabella glues George's ship to the table, and it's one of these side stories that sometimes we're crying out for as Coronation Street fans, because it certainly wasn't trying to teach us anything. There was no itv.com/advice if your rivals... If you've lost
your maidenhead.
If you lost your maiden... Yeah, he does. He still steals his maidenhead or gets accused of it. Is your rival's Italian cousin glued your ship to the table? If so, itv.com advice, but no, it didn't really work for me.
Every time somebody gets a hobby on Coronation Street, the writers Google funny innuendo hobby name.
Yes.
Maidenhead, that'll do.
There were a few funny moments in it, but I didn't really get on with that story. Anyway,
we never really got, with all of these things, you never get to see him actually doing it. I'd quite like to. I'd watch a YouTube video. No, but we didn't. No, not properly.
So you want to have an online exclusive of George actually building a ship?
I want an hour-long YouTube video.
I reckon that Tony Maudsley will be able to ad-lib a funny script for an hour whilst he's building a ship.
Why not?
Challenge for you.
Let's offer that out to him, please. That will. You're terrible with Christmas presents. Well, here's one we were requesting.
Well, now that as soon as Isabella left the show, he hits, as did his passion for all things shipbuilding. So
what happened to bloody Brian and his broad beans as well?
Yeah, good point. So Rest Easy tried to poach Todd. We mentioned this earlier. This is summer 2023. He gets a stiffy, does Todd. So George isn't the first one to have got one, but he receives it for Young Funeral Director of the Year. People are always getting awards in Coronation Street, aren't they? I know it's a street where you say, oh, in a real street, would really that many people get murdered? Would there be that many people getting arrested in a real street? I want to say, in a real street, how many people get awards? Not as many as they do in Coronation Street.
It's because everyone who makes Coronation Street's in show business, and you get awards all the time.
It's
You've always been invited to award, I got Young Scriptwriter of the Year 1985. Oh, I won it in 1986. Oh, did you get the Rising Star Award? Yeah, I did as well.
Yeah, I know.
They've all got awards.
Yes, they just think it's the stuff that
It's just normal. What normal people do.
We are sitting here looking at
we
two
do have our
awards that
awards.
we have won. The Coronation
podcasting?
Street, no, just the quiz, Coronation Street quiz, but they're still there
That's
proudly
not
in front
bad-
of us.
That's better, I think.
Presented by Sally Ann Matthews.
All these podcasting awards are a bunch of crap anyway.
There's only one podcasting award. They're not interested in us because we're not a celebrity one, I'm afraid. Also,
No,
we're not that
nobody
good.
listens to
not
us.
that good. Anyway, so they're poaching Todd after he gets his stiffy, and George doesn't like the idea of this. He steals their business card that Troy, the Rest Easy bloke, put in the in Todd's jacket. And when Todd finds out, he's like, "Well, screw you, George. I'm off to work at Rest Easy. They're paying me more there." But, and this shows how much Todd has grown and matured over the years. He doesn't like their hard selling techniques because George has taught him that it's all about the customer service. It's all about, getting what they want.
It's all about the corpse.
It's all about the corpse. And so Todd eventually realises he wants to go back to Shuttleworth. But alas, when he goes back there, he finds out that George has already employed a replacement. And this is, sometimes you get characters that only appear in 1 or 2 episodes.
They win your heart.
And they leave a lasting impression, don't they? And Lee/Lurch certainly did that.
Love him.
Where
is he now?
He was
Maybe he's in Wednesday.
Yeah, maybe he is. He was only in about 2 episodes, wasn't he? What are your memories of Lurch and why we liked him so much?
Tall.
Yes.
Gormless.
Yes. Monosyllabic.
I thought he was great.
I really wish that they could have kept him at least for a couple of weeks. But yeah, he was just, and George is a tall chap, as we all know, and this teenager, this gangly teenager, towered over him, and he literally was just he was a bit of a, what was the guy off Hot Fuzz, the Yarp man. He was kind of like him, wasn't he?
He was the that he was the Hound in Game of Thrones.
Yeah. But anyway, Todd's calling him Lurch, and then George accidentally calls him Lurch in front of a client whilst Lee is listening, and he gets offended and leaves. But I think there could have been room for both of them, to be honest. He's a bit like they had Boris in the butcher's shop, in Fred's shop, for a little while back in the early 2000s, didn't they? And you obviously got Dirk in the factory. Why not keep Lurch there as the third wheel?
It's the sort of thing I could do.
What?
Play that kind of character. Stand
around and just say one word.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does the job, doesn't it?
I can't find anybody called Lee here. I've got Lee.
Are you on
drug
Corriepedia?
addict. I've got Lee. He was Daisy's boyfriend.
Yeah. I don't think he's got a Corriepedia page, I'm afraid to say,
I'm
darling.
looking. I didn't think he did.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to find who played him because he needs credits.
Oh, well, you keep going with that then. So, he was great.
What year was it?
2023. So anyway, Todd eventually gets his job back when Lee kicks into the curb, and then Todd also gets promoted to junior partner. So good move for him. Bit of a quiet rest of the year really for George. He does have a nice little scene in Victoria Gardens towards the end of the year, because this is when the Liam, Mason, Dylan stories all kicking off, and George sits down with Liam and tells him all about his horrible experiences with Frank when he hears that Liam's being bullied, and he's like, you really need to talk to Maria about this. And he did a lovely job. I think next time I have having a bit of a down day, I'm going to find George, and he can just tell me everything's going to be okay. I believe him. You found him?
Yeah, I think I did. Callum Burbridge.
There we go. Recognition for Callum.
Yeah, get him back.
He should totally come back.
Yeah. Right, what happened next year? 2024.
Is this me? I've lost track.
It's you.
I'm on to it. Yeah, I mean, this is a really quiet year for George. He only made 61 appearances in the whole of 2024. He was the 52nd most used character in the year. And I think a lot of that did come down to the fact that Sue Cleaver wasn't in the show as well, because of various off-screen reasons that she couldn't appear. But barely anything. Do you want to have a quick rundown of what we did see him doing?
Well, he was talking to Dylan about bullying, encouraging him to speak to Mrs. Crawshaw about how he's been led by Mason into bullying Liam.
Yeah, that was weird though, because I was watching those two scenes at the weekend, and it almost felt like they contradicted each other.
Why?
About whether or not George spoke up about bullying. Because one of them was saying, I spoke up about it and then they fixed it. And in the other one, he's saying, I wish I'd spoken to someone about it. And they're only a few months apart. I don't know, maybe I'm reading too much into this, but it did seem like Maybe he's just a massive liar. Maybe he wasn't bullied after all, and
Maybe
poor
he's a
Frank was.
fantasist.
Yeah, maybe he was. Maybe
Yeah.
he was. But it was a lovely scene, and I think that was makes the trio of scenes where George is just lovely with the local kids.
If only he was that good with his own son.
His non-existent son. He needs to have a chat with Hope. I think he'd be
Stop
lovely.
setting fires.
Yeah.
George updates his will. He leaves the business to Todd. But then he discovers another later will of Archie's that actually splits the business with Glenda. And he's like, oh, no, I don't know about this. He doesn't want to share.
This was one of these, I kind of want a proper story for these characters, and then it happens, and it's like, no, not like this. Not like this.
Because he wasn't 100% sure if this was actually what Archie wanted. Because it wasn't
the date was
official.
smudged on the will, so they didn't know whether it was his last one or not. But it just led to this horrible, horrible falling out between the two siblings.
Yeah, well, he feels guilty because Glenda wants to buy Little Big Shots and she can't because she doesn't have the money. So he offers to lend her the money, but then he doesn't think is a viable business, so he pulls out. So Todd tells Glenda about the will, and she threatens legal action. He offers to give her £22,000 to settle the matter, and she says, well, I'm going to use that to sue you for half the business and half the house.
That little bit of it was quite a gasp move, wasn't it? When she's like, I'm gonna... But it was just so out of character for Glenda. I don't know
I think
what
I
they
said
were
this to you
thinking.
before,
What?
that this is what happens with money. This is what you got.
I know families do fall out, but...
You're very... You always think that... You're a nice person and that
Thanks.
you wouldn't do this.
Thanks.
But you're in a sort of minority. When it comes to backstabby family money stuff, it gets nasty very quickly.
It does, but
I don't think this is without the realm of possibility for anybody to do.
I know that it happens, but I just hate that it was Glenda that
No, I
did
agree
it.
with you.
George and Glenda are both the nicest people on the street at the moment.
It didn't
aren't
work.
they?
It didn't work as... It was supposed to be like, oh my goodness, how out of character. This is serious. But it just
I don't know whether
came
we were
across
supposed
as
to...
like...
I don't know whether we were
doesn't
supposed
seem
to be
right.
thinking whether it was in or out of character. It almost to me came across as, oh, there's drama between the Shuttleworths.
Yeah.
They're both fighting over
We
the
don't care if
business.
you like
Don't
this.
care if it's in character or not. It just left a real sour taste in my mouth. And I was thinking, don't you bloody ruin Glenda for
Don't you
me.
bloody ruin Glenda.
Luckily, she's bounced right back from it. But there was a moment there where I was thinking, is this going to be the moment where Glenda falls off this pedestal I put her on?
Oh no.
That not happy with that Coronation Street, not happy at all.
So, yeah, it gets fraught between the two because she wants half of everything. She tries to sell Shuttleworths to rest easy, and she changes the locks on the house. She dumps all his stuff at number 11. And then eventually they're like, look, I'll have the house, you have the business.
Yeah. Tony was talking about this. Again, I always raid Digital Spy for quotes, and then they get them from other places as well sometimes. But Tony of this story said George is half protecting his little sister. We need to see whether we can understand what he's saying here.
Go on then.
He's half protecting his little sister, who he loves dearly. He's half protecting his dad's legacy, which he's diligently looked after and kept going since Archie's death. So he's in this quandary of not wanting to shortchange his sister, but also not wanting to hand her half of a business that she's going to sink into the ground in 5 seconds if she gets her hands on it. So basically, he's saying he wasn't keeping it from her because he was horrible. He was doing it because he thought that she wouldn't be able to manage it properly. And I suppose that kind of fits in with, although she has done a pretty good job in the Rovers, hasn't she? But she knows a heck of a lot more about showbiz and the hospitality industry than she does funerals. Although she did quite well in that funeral when she first came in. I get that he might be worried about it, but I still don't think it's a good enough justification for having them at each other's throats. And I don't know what Jodie thought about what Glenda's justification was for doing this. But yeah, he said, I think from George's point of view, it was always odd that Glenda wasn't left much by their father. I think he understood why, because Glenda's always been into high kicking on the high seas and singing songs. She's Little Miss Showbiz and always was. She is never a responsible kid. She couldn't even look after her pets properly. Pets died and she went and got another one, or she'd wait for a new fad to kick in and say she wanted a terrapin, things like that. And I'm glad that they've developed some kind of backstory for these characters for themselves. Again, that shows, it speaks to George's love for the programme that he's developed this backstory and what they were like as
you
kids.
You don't know if that's not something they spoke with the writers about, though.
Yeah, I suppose so.
I would imagine if you got judged on what you were like as a kid forever. I guess that's what siblings do.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, when I think of my sister now, I still think back to before, when we were teenagers together. That's why when we were at each other's throats. But no, it did not work for me whatsoever. But let's just move on.
We got to move on, haven't we?
Yeah, to 2025, which was a much, much better year.
It was a much better year. It starts with terminal cancer.
Well, not for George, it didn't.
No.
Who for?
Julie.
Oh, yes, Julie. Julie was in it. Yeah, no, you're right. Well, sorry, I'd wiped that from my mind. George is actually currently in the top 10 most featured characters of 2025. And going from 52 last year up to the top 10 is, fantastic for him. Really, really, really pleased for him. And this has been the year that he's properly become a real, I love this character. I think before this year, it was like, I like George. He's a good time, but this is like, no, I absolutely adore him, and it's all thanks to Julie coming in, dying of cancer, Eileen swanning off to Thailand, and George getting the freedom of the city.
Freedom.
This is whenever one half of a couple leaves the show, whether it's they've got the axe or whether they've chosen to leave, Coronation Street always has to come up with a supposedly believable reason why they'd split up.
I know.
And I don't think going into 2025 we were all thinking, what on earth are these two still doing together? They're clearly not right for each other. But looking back on it now, I'm more inclined to think, yeah, actually.
Yeah. It never worked for me.
Never really worked. I think I kind of wanted them to work, which is why I didn't believe that they weren't really suited for each other.
Well, in 2025, Julie shows up and we were all like, yay, Julie!
Eileen's half-sister Julie.
We love this character. She's going to be so much fun.
What a great... We kind of knew, because we knew that Sue Cleaver was leaving, when Julie came in, it's like, she's probably only going to be here for her
She won't be here long. She'll take Eileen with her.
At least they'll have a good time, yeah. No. Well, no, they did. They did have a good time.
As much as she can do.
Dying thing.
George persuades Eileen to offer her a room at number 11 because she's dying and everything. But having her at the house causes more tensions between George and Eileen because Julie's looking for new romance with Brian. He tells Brian that this is not what Julie needs. And then Julie tells Brian that Eileen finds George dull.
Stick with us now. We know what we're talking about.
So this is like, it goes in Eileen's head and kind of like knocks around there for quite a while. After Julie dies, George and Todd conspire to embalm her to try to hide... Oh, God, this is silly, isn't it? Try to hide the fact...
we say this is a good year for George, but that moment, bloody Nora.
Tries to hide the fact that she had seemingly taken some of Eileen's medications to end her own life, and that makes Eileen look suspicious, so they have to try to hide it, but then the police find them, and it's just made it even worse. At Julie's wake, George decides to propose to her, and she says, I'm not in love with you anymore.
Bad timing, honestly.
He hears she's thinking of moving to
Thailand.
Yeah. When he hears that she's thinking of moving to Thailand with Jason, he offers to drop everything and go with them, and she's like, "You're not invited." Bye.
Oh, it's sad. By this time, we knew it was coming. We knew that Tony wasn't leaving the show. We knew that Sue was.
And it's all Julie's fault, really, because she's the one who put the little flea in Eileen's ear. She kept insisting that true love was the only thing that mattered and that Eileen wasn't...
Well, yeah, because she was hankering after Brian, wasn't she?
I genuinely think that Eileen will never find true love in her life.
Do you think that she's too much of a self-saboteur?
Yeah, she's a sourpuss.
Yeah.
So she's doomed.
Yeah. But I think, this ripping off of the plaster that Eileen did here... It was sad to see George hurt, but it has been the making of him.
Yeah, so
it's given him the chance to try again.
You'd think that since Eileen moved out, there would be hardly anyone left at number 11, but don't forget that George and Mary and Todd live there, and then Theo moves in, But eventually, Todd and Theo move out.
And that's a story for another day.
Then George gets into the dating game. He ends up matching with an old friend of Glenda's.
Yes, she was great.
Who wants to catch up with Glenda more than she wants to catch up with George.
Loved her.
And then this is when Jenny starts fancying him because he fixes a leaky O-ring. How come he was fixing her leaky O-ring, but then he needed Theo to come and fix his?
Good point.
Well,
inconsistent.
because he was busy, but it's... Anyway.
Yeah, so, this was an odd attraction from Jenny, but also one that was just put there to facilitate Sally and Matthew's exit.
Yeah, so Christina shows back up on the scene because of Dom dying, her felonious ex. No, not ex.
Well, yeah, they were.
No, they were going out with each other.
Yeah.
They weren't ex. You don't become someone's ex when you die. That you become the late. So anyway, she asks George to help arrange Dom's funeral, and Jenny's like, "No way! This is all a big act. She's scamming you. I don't believe it for a minute." Which is what we were all thinking as well.
Wondering maybe.
George takes pity on Christina, because she's completely destitute without Dom. So he offers her a cleaning job at the undertaker's. And Glenda is also taking Jenny's side over Christina versus Jenny, because she doesn't like Christina after what she did. I don't think so. So she arranges a speed dating night at the pub to try to engineer Jenny and George getting together, but Jenny ducks out of it to look after Rita, and then she exaggerates to George that Rita was like in hospital, and he found out that it was all a big lie, and he gets put off about it. Have you put in her about Jenny leaving?
No, then
Jenny decides that she didn't really like George after all, and Christina can have him, basically.
Off to Tenerife.
George sees Dylan in a different storyline. Dylan and Brody driving in the car that would eventually hit Tyrone, and reports it to the police, but they have an alibi because it was actually Carl that was driving it later on.
Yeah, I suppose that didn't particularly need to be George. It could have been anyone, apart from the fact that George had that chat with Dylan last year, or was it earlier this year?
He was just walking along trying to find where Roy and Ken had tried to break in.
Yeah.
Because that's where that was filmed.
I know.
Christina moves into Todd's old room at number 11. Things are looking pretty good, but then when he's snoring, she gets an offer for a stiffy on the phone and turns it down. And it turns out it was a Lifetime Achievement Award. And he's really upset about it, but she didn't understand on the phone that apparently it's a one-time deal. And if somebody declines it on your behalf, that's forever lost.
So he loses his stiffy thanks to Christina, doesn't he?
But he forgives her. And they kiss.
He needs to talk to Tim about that.
It's perfectly normal.
Yes. Happens to the best of us. When you reach a certain age.
Right, so
and that's basically it, isn't it? So we're kind of where we're left at the moment, as we quickly hurried through there, because, we're getting on a little bit. It's been an hour and a half this episode, is that George and Christina are now an item. Officially, they have kissed. And then and it was a very kind of Ingrid Bergman, Gone with the Wind, kind of I'm going to duck you and dip you sort of kiss in the funeral parlour. And they made the funny line about, is this all right for us to do here? And it's like, don't worry, we haven't got a body in. And just in that moment, just in those few weeks, they've just struck gold with these two, haven't they? And she's just brought this new life to him that Eileen seemed to have been suffocating.
Yeah, I know.
For years.
Do you think is their shipping name George Tina?
That's a bit boring, isn't it? I don't know. I don't know whether their names kind of fit together. No, it's not. It's Boy George, isn't it? That's a storyline title. Don't roll your eyes at me, madam.
Well done.
Yeah. So, but I think it speaks to what chemistry.
It's not a shipping name, though, is it? It's a pun.
Oh, same difference. What chemistry these two actors have with each other, and I'm not saying that Tony and Sue didn't have chemistry, but it just feels so much more apparent with these two. And then they have been friends for a long time. I mean, they were back in 2001, they were in a film together called My Beautiful Son, and they did The Royal together in 2007 as well. So they've known each other for quite a long time. But even when Christina came back into the show for Daisy's exit storyline back in January, February this year, whenever it was, they posted like a selfie on Instagram saying, "Hey, Bezzy mates back together again." So it was one of those lovely cases of these actors who love the bones off each other as far as we can tell. And I wonder whether back then the idea was mooted, shall we have Christina going out with George once Eileen goes? Because I'm going to say it probably wasn't.
Yeah, really? I would have said it would be. They plan these things so far in advance.
They do plan a lot in advance, but yeah, I don't know. We were so thrilled that Christina came back into the show for Daisy's exit, because every time she literally, it's like her graph is just curving upwards. When she first came into the show, I was like, oh, she's quite funny. She's a bad mother to Daisy. She's got a bit of spark to her. But every return that Christina's done, she's just got better and better and more
happy returns.
Fun to watch in our eyes. And what we've got now with her latest incarnation, she's lost some of that conniving...
opportunistic nature.
Yeah, she's very, very selfish, isn't she? And she's always out for what she can get. She's always out for number one, and she doesn't care about anybody else. But we've seen that, when Dom died, she had these lovely, tragic, I suppose, lip wobbly, upset moments that really, really humanised her. And from that, it was able to spark off this lovely relationship with George. He's been able to see her more vulnerable side that she's probably not she's not willing to show to many other men. I just can't wait to see more of them together. It's one of these things where I'm nervous that we won't see them together. They've got together. Is that the end of the story? We're not going to see them again until they split up. I don't know. But the 2025 has been George's year, and I
hope it doesn't go wrong.
I want to see her Is she moving into... Is she in number 11 now? I think that she's staying there in Todd's old room, maybe. I can't remember
whether Glenda tried to... Well, Glenda was moaning because she wanted to move in there because of the Driscolls moving in. I don't know what happened to her. There's no way they all live in that pub.
No, I can't do it. I don't know. But I'd like to see George and Christina settle down and be a couple, and not just like Sally and Tim, a believable older, and have them adopting and what have you, and I don't think that
Todd.
I don't think that Christina loses anything by the fact that she's turned over a new leaf. Do you? Would you like her to still keep some of that mischievous? Well, it's not mischievous, is it? It was out and out criminal. Fraudulent activity, exactly.
I kind of want them to just pretend all that never happened, because she was going to, turn her own daughter over. So she wouldn't... There's no way she wouldn't want to do that to George if she had the chance. I'd rather pretend that she didn't do any of it at all than have her dally with it, because I just love them together too much. I don't want anything to happen.
It wasn't necessarily Christina's machinations that made her a fun character.
No.
It was just kind of her outrageous campiness, which she's still got in spades.
It's because the actress is so
Amy Robbins, absolutely
magnetic.
Brilliant.
These three characters they've got, Glenda, George and Christina, are all just so much fun to watch. They are proper Coronation Street.
They all feel proper classic Corrie, don't they?
And I love them, and I think they're fabulous.
Yeah, and I worry that Christina could just be a bit of a rebound girlfriend for George, or at least this is how it starts to be. But they've got to keep them together. They do, and I think when they were first starting to get together, I did have that little worry in the back of my mind. Is she scamming him? But I honestly don't believe that now. The fact that she's got on her marigold, she's scrubbing his coffins for him, she's opening him up, and she's showing him,
giving him a good scrub.
She's showing him her warts and all, I suppose.
I think
putting a lot of trust in him.
Well, great. I love them.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else to say.
No. So I think that's kind of it for George, isn't it?
I think that this is the making of George. Tony Maudsley has kind of been hasn't reached his full potential, and this is going to be a new era for him with Christina. I think just getting him away from Eileen was going to always be a good plan.
I think it also, and I'm really sorry to say this, is good if it gets him away from Brian, Mary, Ken, and that lot, because he's kind of been bundled in with kind of the
You're old, go
the
over
old
there.
saddos, and no offense to them. I mean, Mary's not old,
Well,
but
she's our age.
yeah, she's a bit older than us, but
Not by a lot.
that
You wouldn't put Abby in that group.
no, I know, but it's kind of the losers. Again, no offense, but they are a bit, aren't they? They come into the pub and Roy, because I don't really, I think that those are the kind of characters that Corrie doesn't know what to do with, and every now and then they kind of chuck him into the pub to have a bit of a chat together and then stick him in a box again for a couple of months, and I don't want that to happen to George. And I think that had Christina not come along, George really could have run the risk of just appearing as a mate of Brian's every now and then. Or, I mean, I suppose he's still got Todd and he's still got the Undertaker, so there's a little bit more going for him than Brian, because we don't even see the cabin.
Christina and George together is the most convincing argument I've heard yet for the theory that Coronation Street production team have, that you have to be in a relationship to really be a main character.
Yeah. No,
because I think that's bunk, but I also think that the way George is in the show now is an absolute breath of fresh air. And it's so crazy because he's only been going out with Christina for like, what, a month?
We could just be in the honeymoon period.
I think we are.
Corrie needs to invest in them, and again, worry is that they've got them together and they're not going to have anything to do for the next 6 months or so.
This is what Swaller fans are discovering.
Jump onto this, Corrie.
If you want to be in the show, you got to have drama and conflict.
But I don't want them to...
But I don't think they're characters that need that, actually.
No, I don't want them to have conflict with each other. I want them to face conflict together.
Yeah.
And show their dramatic chops as well. We all love them. We all love them for their comedy, but I'd quite like... They've got to be
look
careful.
What happened to Glenda.
I don't want Christina to develop some horrible tumour or
oh
anything
my
like
God.
that. But have them fight against a cause.
Look what happened to Glenda when she got attacked.
Yeah,
everyone went, no.
A PTSD for one episode, you're right, aren't they? So anyway, it has been, for me personally, a long time coming. I've always quite liked George, but this to 2025 has been the making of him, and it's not like now he's right up there for me. He's one of my favourite bits about Coronation Street, and I hope that we will have him in the show for a long time to come. There's endless opportunities to use the funeral parlour. I would still say
Sadly.
Be careful with not making it too farcical. But him and Todd are a great little pairing. Him and Christina, absolutely love him.
He's got his feet under the table now.
And it only took 5 years in my eyes. It makes it
worth
sound like
it.
I've not enjoyed him. I have, but he's just at his absolute peak at the moment. He's
Really?
riding high, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Corrie's got in store for him in 2026.
Hooray! Hooray for George!
Hooray for George! Right,
And Tony.
I think that's the death knell for this episode of the podcast. It's another one in the coffin, time to bury this
Oh my
online. And I can't think of any other euphemisms that don't really make sense. So we're going to end it there. Thank you for listening, everybody. Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
from her. And
I can say it myself.
say it yourself. Thank you, Tony Morsley, for your wonderful performance as George Shuttleworth. Maybe come on the podcast for a chat one time. Just saying. Goodbye, everybody. Ta-ra.